I would just like to address an issue that I touched on before, but didn't really go into details. Um, I try to pass over some things because I don't think they're important enough to talk about. But this is something that I've seen come up quite a lot since the ITV leaders debate, and that is this strange notion that the three women leaders were better than the three male leaders. If that is an opinion that they're better because of the policies they represent, then that I could think, okay, that's just down to opinion. But there's feminist overtones to this, that they're better simply because they're women. Apart from being obviously sexist, I think it's just plain wrong. Now, if you're a Green supporter or an SNP supporter or a Plaid Cymru supporter, I can understand you wanting to defend your leader. That's natural. But what I can't accept is the phony argument that their performance as a leader is determined by whether they're male or female. And this is something I've noticed when Natalie Bennett has been scrutinised for her role as a leader. She's went through a few tough interviews, and I think I made a video about this actually, but I'm just elaborating on it a bit. She went through a few, to say the least, tough interviews, and she basically broke down. And Greens are coming on that and saying, "Oh, it's because the sexist reporters were asking her tough questions." I'm sorry, but if someone is leading a political party that aspires to one day be in government, they should be asked tough questions. Now, there is a human factor. We all have long days, but this is something that I find for them to say that it's sexist is a lot of crap trap. Why do they not say the same thing about Ed Miliband? Because he's had a very rough ride by the media, especially by certain aspects of the press. I mean, Jeremy Paxman was really, really trying to push hard to get under Mr. Miliband's skin at that Path to Number 10 or Battle for Number 10 event. So why are the same people not criticizing that? You know, if their question is about unprofessional journalism or questions that are demeaning, then why turn it into a woman's issue? This is something that all politicians have to go through. I mean, Nigel Farage has hardly been given an easy ride by the media. So I just don't buy that for a second. I think it's a phony claim. Um, and frankly, given some of the Greens' policies, I do think it's right that they're scrutinised. But I don't want to use this video to get in depth into policies. That might be for another video. Um, I just want to focus on why this sort of why people have this mentality. I've just seen one of these little uh, poster type things. I'm not sure what you call them. You know, the little political cartoon type things you get, like where you have bubbles coming from people's mouths and people put them in the link under a thread. I forget what we call those officially, but basically, it shows the three women leaders and the three male leaders of that debate, and it shows the three women leaders and saying the voice of the people. And then below with the male leaders, and they've got like negative images, frozen frames of all the men looking glum and all the women looking happy, and it says under the men, the voice of the establishment. Now the Greens are trying a negative campaign ad. They say it's just a bit of fun, but showing the four male leaders like being sort of rich boys and having a little party for their cuts, and the notion is they're all the same. Um, this really annoys me because I think it's just a very phony and cynical a way to try and divide people. Anyone who votes for a candidate because they are a woman, as opposed to her policies, really needs their head examined. I'm sorry to be blunt about that, but I think it is a stupid reason to vote for someone. Um, I may well vote for a woman candidate in my local election because I happen to know my local MP. I think she's a good MP, and if I vote for her, it will be because I think she's a good MP, not because she's a woman. I'm a swing voter. I'm still thinking about it, but it really irritates me that feminists, for example, and the reason I'm focusing on feminists is because they do tend to emphasize these sort of things. Um, on one hand, they're shouting about equality, and yet they're actually focusing on the idea that someone's gender determines what sort of politician they are. Norman Lamb, the Liberal Democrat health spokesman on the free speech event, someone called him male, bland, and I think there was another pejorative in there. Well, it was intended as a pejorative. Now you can imagine the outcry from the PC brigade if similar terms were used for a woman, i.e., oh, you're just a woman, or something like that. So it seems perfectly acceptable to insult male politicians, but hey, whenever a woman politician is under scrutiny, that must be sexism. And I just cannot stand the hypocrisy of that position. It's phony. Politics is a tough business, and every politician has to answer tough questions. I don't really think there's any politician who's given an easy ride because these people are scrutinized, if they slip up in the tiniest way. So I just don't buy the claim that women politicians have it harder. I just do not accept that for a second. And another point about the whole debate about women in parliament, I would actually like to see more women in parliament. I would like to see it in more of an equal situation. And there may well be some circumstances that are making women wonder about getting into parliament. Maybe it's the aggressive sort of environment of prime minister's questions. I don't know. But I would say that there is no laws actually discriminating against women from going into parliament. That's something you'll never hear feminists say. So actually, in terms of equal opportunity, the opportunity is there. In fact, when you think of the Labour Party, they actually discriminate against men with their all-women shortlists. Now, it shouldn't be controversial to say these things. It shouldn't be like, whoa, I can't believe he said that. All I'm saying here is facts. Um, I really strongly believe that someone's performance as a politician has no connection whatsoever to their gender. There are good male MPs, bad male MPs. There are good women MPs and bad women MPs. I mean, Theresa May is the most powerful woman in the country. So why are the feminists not now saying, why are they ignoring that fact? They're focusing on smaller parties that happen to be run by women leaders, but, they're ignoring the fact that there are some very powerful women within Labour and the Conservatives and the Lib Dems. And I think it's a pathetic feminist stunt to try and further their agenda of dividing men and women. And I think it's odious. Actually, I will say one thing about those three leaders. They do have one thing in common, apart from all being women, which is actually irrelevant. The thing they do have in common, which is relevant, is they all support the breakup of the United Kingdom. Nicola Sturgeon is the leader of the Scottish Nationals. She obviously wants Scottish independence. Leanne Wood is leader of Plaid Cymru. She wants Welsh independence. And Natalie Bennett, the leader of the Greens, supported the Yes campaign in the Scottish referendum. This is a fact. So that factor would put me off ever voting for any of those parties. And two of them I couldn't vote for anyway. But it would put me off voting for the Greens. Because a party that is actually anti-British, anti-United Kingdom, how can they ever claim to be a party that is aspiring for government? I think it's a phony, ridiculous thing. And to me, it's yet further evidence that the Greens are a bit of a joke, in all honesty. Not because their leader is a woman. In fact, I would be saying exactly the same thing if their leader was a man and if they had the same policies. Um, and I'm sure there's many even smaller parties led by men that are ridiculous. So let's just drop this feminist victimhood mentality because really, for those of us who actually think a little bit about politics and who actually think about the issues rather than personalities, rather than gender, then you would see common sense and realize that it's nothing to do with gender at all. It's to do with leadership. If Theresa May was leader of the Tories, I'm sure she would be taking these smaller parties to task. Not that I agree with the Tories, but she would be fighting her case for the Conservative Party. If Rachel Reeves or Yvette Cooper was leader of the Labour Party, and I think in the near future we'll see women leaders, and I have no problem with that. But I just have a problem that someone is a better leader. The notion that someone is a better leader solely because of their gender. You can imagine, and this is what bugs me, the hypocrisy. You can imagine if someone said, oh, well, he's a man, so he must be a stronger leader. Everyone would pounce on that and say, oh, that's a very old-fashioned view. It's sexist. And yet somehow it's acceptable to say these three women are better leaders because they're women. That's phony. If you really, really believe in their policies, okay, that's your opinion. But don't make the argument that they're better because they are women, because that is sexist and it's ridiculous.